T-Mobile stories here. This one from fiercewireless.com, Monica Alvin, and then the other is from the telecompetitor. I'll link both stories in the description below. Let's start first with this story. T-Mobile CEO dishes on 5G enterprise. Quote, torture test coverage goals. All right, so let's see what he's got to say here. There's some candid stuff in here that I actually respect the CEO of T-Mobile, Mike Sievert, for disclosing. This is really interesting. All right, T-Mobile now sees its 5G Advanced Network Solutions, or what's called ANS, launch with Dell, Ericsson, and Nokia. You guys know about this. I just dropped this video earlier today. So this kind of builds on top of that. The uncarrier, the uncarrier launched it and said that at the JP Morgan investor conference, their goal was to go from 10% market share to 20% market share by 2025. In my estimations, I think that's a very lofty goal. I think it's one that's going to be hard for them to get, only because they don't have a pedigree or a history of being able to do something like this. The commitments that it would take, they lack those characteristics or qualities historically. It says here, one of the things that we know that we need to do as a non-incumbent in the enterprise space is to win much more strategic relationships with the corner office, the CIOs, the CEOs. Whereas to get the 10% share, frankly, we have been focused much more on just simply bidding some RFPs. So basically just being cheaper. It's going to take more than that now. So what he's talking about here is not just coming in with a good network and a great value, because really for them, it's just about value. They've always just been the more affordable play. And what companies were doing is they were turning around, taking that price and taking that value and going back to AT&T and Verizon and say, beat it. So they were just pawns. And he says now, we're going to be focusing on winning the whole kit and caboodle. In order to do that, you have to have a relationship. He is 100% right about that. And he says us having a strategic relationship with the corner office is huge for them. That's true. He's got to get to the rubbing of the shoulders with the big CEOs of these big companies. You know, all these huge airline companies, all these transport companies, trucking companies. That's Verizon territory. That's AT&T territory. Those two companies, they are the corporate carriers, you know, and that's where T-Mobile has to go. Now for this coverage and torture test part, here it says, in both consumer and enterprise space, T-Mobile is very careful about saying it's got the best 5G network in the nation. But for many years, Verizon and AT&T offered the coverage and consistency, and that's why people picked them. It says here, this is from Mike Sievert, I give Verizon more credit than AT&T on that front. Verizon does have the most square miles covered in the country, and for us, what matters is being able to get signal to the places, the torture test places. And this is sort of a relatively new priority for us. A couple of years ago, we were focused on population, just get the population covered. You guys see, this is what we've been saying for a long time. He's admitting it here. T-Mobile has been working on densely populated urban areas, and they are just now addressing the hard-to-reach, the nooks and the crannies of the country where they have lacked coverage for many, many years. Places where they simply never had it. They've been filling in with native roaming agreements where they don't have native coverage, and in some places they don't even have the roaming. So 5 years ago, as T-Mobile is trying to close the gap, they still have not totally closed the gap. And the fact that they're poo-pooing AT&T, that's kind of a questionable and suspect call, because AT&T's network is much larger than theirs. So they're trying to poo-poo AT&T for whatever reason, but giving Verizon props, even though both Verizon and AT&T deserves props in coverage compared to T-Mobile. Moving on here, he says customer-driven coverage, kind of describing that, calling that the torture test. I'm not sure about the wordplay there. It's fine. 260 million pops of the 5G UC by the end of the year. We'll see if they get to that. I don't see why not. Should be fine to do that. Meanwhile, I think Verizon's probably going to be approaching the 200 million mark too. You know, so they'll be pretty close. I'm not sure where AT&T is going to be, but I doubt they'll be that close. All right, so that's this story here. I'll let you guys read the full thing if you like. Link in the description. Let's go to this next part. All right, this one here. Telecompetitor. T-Mobile is seeing two primary types of customers for its fixed wireless offering. The chief marketing officer says at the investor conference. So I want to ask you guys, Where do you fall into place if you're a T-Mobile home internet customer? So here are the two types he discussed. One group is the rural customer who previously had to rely on either satellite, broadband, or DSL. The other group is a group of customers in the urban and suburban who only had one other option, and they are fed up with that option. Cox Communications, for example. That's what strikes me there as an example of that. So reasons for being fed up, exploding prices. I think those are huge. That's probably the number one reason. After a year, your pricing can double. It could go up 50, 60, 70, 80%. With T-Mobile's price, it's a flat rate, tax and fees included, no gateway costs, nothing, straightforward and simple. And T-Mobile's being able to produce 140 megabits of downlink. That makes it competitive with, it makes it better than most DSL or all DSL. It makes it better than satellite, and it makes it competitive with entry-level cable options, especially at that price point where some people are paying, especially once they get off their promotions. They might start $50 a month for like 300 megabits, but then after a year or two, their pricing balloons to like $90. And that's where a company like T-Mobile with their fixed wireless comes into play. And if they can get the fixed wireless up to 300-400, megabits per second on average, well, then it's like better than cable in some ways, because then the uplink is probably going to kick up too. And we know that cable has crappy uplink sometimes, right? You'd be lucky to get 10, 20, 30 megabits uplink, and wireless can do that. Now, it says here that the usage for most home users is like 300 to 400 gigs, and the T-Mobile network's been able to handle that. And that's what cable customers are using. And they can provide it. So there you guys have it. Those are the two main customers that are taking to the T-Mobile home internet, the fixed wireless access. Customers that are pissed off with balloon pricing with big cable, and customers that just not liking DSL and satellite. What do you guys think? Where do you fall if that's you? Go ahead and comment down below, and then comment on the I guess the admission of T-Mobile's CEO Mike Sievert saying that their network isn't great, and they're looking to change that. Comment down below. You all the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard. Like, share, and subscribe for more. Turn on the bell notifications to never miss an upload. Links in the description for my Twitter and my Patreon page. Support us there. Get early access to exclusive videos not found anywhere else. And all business inquiries, Gmail is in the description. Thanks for watching. See you all in the next video. Peace.